Hiya, how are you doing? Happy Thursday. I just had to look at the date there and see what day it is. I think that's the problem with all of this, isn't it? These lockdown days, you don't know if you're bloody coming or going at the minute. But anyway, on a cheerier note, it's nice to see you all. Well, I can't actually see you, but crucially, I can actually hear from yous. If you comment along on whatever platform it is you're watching this on, whether that be Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, I can see your comments and you can tell us whether or not you think I'm talking out me bum, or whether or not you agree with us, or ask us any questions you've got for us, whatever you want, etc., etc. Right, today, topics we're covering: COVID, Trump versus Biden, Laurence Fox, and Harry and Meghan. But listen, before I get on to any of that, I just want to ask you all, if you can, to support our GoFundMe page. We're over halfway to securing our target, and any help you can give to that ensures that Reason can do more, but crucially keep on doing what it's doing. I think the success of Reason during the last 6 months has been an amazing, less than 6 months actually, a fantastic feat. And that's all down to the likes of you, but I think we can grow it further. I think Reason can keep on going and going and going. So please do consider supporting us if you can. And comment and let us know who you want me to interview on the show, what topics you would like to see discussed, what you would change, what you do like, what you don't like. You know, Reason very much is going to be led and built by supporters like you. So definitely get in touch, comment along, and I'll respond to you throughout the night. Anyway, right. First of all, I want to talk about COVID. Now, with COVID, I know a lot of yous are actually quite miffed with me, quite angry, because of my views. I know you're scared of the threat of the virus to your family and your loved ones, and I think that's entirely justifiable. You know, it is. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It is more dangerous than the flu. It's not at all a conspiracy theory. It's not going away in the coming months, but I'm afraid I've concluded that we really need to learn how to live with this thing. We need to learn the lessons of the last 6 months, you know, shield the vulnerable, practice social distancing, and even the mask wearing and the tracking and tracing if there's the evidence that it actually it works. I've no issue with any of that. However, what I do have a major issue with is policy making off the hoof without any evidence that it's necessary, proportionate, or justified by the data. And I think a good example of this is a government announcement that all hospitality venues would have to close at 10 o'clock. Now, that was quickly dubbed the pubs curfew with the industry, the pubs industry. And you know what? Pubs are not only synonymous with a good old British tradition, but they're also massive employers. And they immediately started to warn that this earlier closure time could undermine both public health and thousands of viable hospitality jobs. And as viewers of Reason will know, or followers of mine, I never anticipated sharing a common cause with the Liberal Democrats, who over recent years have been neither liberal nor democratic in their almost pious determination to say bollocks to our vote for Brexit, the biggest vote for anyone or anything. And on so many issues, they've been seen to be lacking in the liberal or democratic tradition. But anyway, I was greatly impressed today by a Liberal Democrat MP, Daisy Cooper, earlier today. She said this in the House of Commons to Health Secretary Matt Hancock, or Tintin as my friend Madeline Grant from The Telegraph calls him. But anyway, let's have a listen to what she had to say, because I thought it was a really, really good speech.
As it was the UQ that I've converted.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As the House will know, the original urgent question was about the 10 p.m. pubs curfew, and it is clear that after this statement, the government is simply not listening. It seems to be covering its eyes and ears and singing la 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 la. You say that this is under review, but where is the evidence? The evidence is clear. The 10 p.m. pubs curfew has been a hammer blow to hospitality, and turfing crowds of people out of COVID-secure venues onto the streets is putting lives and livelihoods at risk. Since reopening in July, Mr. Speaker, businesses on every single one of our high streets have put blood, sweat and tears into making their venues COVID secure, but they are trading at a reduced capacity. And now with this pubs curfew, some of them have seen a reduction by a further 50%. The Prime Minister announced this blanket 10 p.m. closing time just last Tuesday. Within hours, the industry warned that it would lead to chaos on the streets, and it did. The shocking truth is that this government has, by its own admission, made no assessment of the cost of this measure to the industry. And Sage has confirmed that it was never even consulted on whether a 10 p.m. curfew would be effective. Now experts are telling us that it's making the risk of COVID transmission worse. Public Health England's weekly surveillance reports are clear. Outbreaks of the virus in hospitality venues are responsible for less than 3% of all cases, and they have not contributed to any of the increase. And yet this government is making thousands and upon thousands of hospitality jobs unviable, undermining public health and killing our high streets. The government likes to talk about balance and tough choices that it has to make between public health and the economy. But the shocking truth is that the pubs curfew is bad for both, and the longer the government defends it, the more damage it will do. Mr. Speaker, people are scared. Care homes are becoming prison-like, students are being locked up, and businesses are saying that without a further package of support, they will be closed by Christmas. I asked for some evidence behind this measure. He has provided none, and that is why this curfew must be scrapped today.
So I thought that was a really good speech and really, put across quite powerfully views of industry, views of those confused as to why no public health official, was asked for any evidence on this, on what the consequences of it would be, not just for the pubs industry, but as far as public health is concerned, with a load of drunk people leaving the pubs at 10 o'clock, crowding onto public transport or going into off licences, you're just getting a load of people hurt, like a herd of people leaving at the same time. It strikes me as really odd. But I think something needs to be done as far as the government's concerned. The government's thinking on this. And I think she is right. The evidence is that the 10 p.m. curfew has just been a complete and utter disaster, and it looks like careless idiocy that has folk running out onto the streets after a few pints, or more in my case, in search for public transport. And it's utterly damning that Sage weren't asked about this or consulted on the evidence and the repercussions of doing it. We keep being told that we're being led by the science, but are we really? I'm not so confident. I think this is all yet more attempts by the government to look like they're doing something, that they're taking action, that they're able to put the minds of the public at ease by being seen to look good over actually doing good. And this is all going to have very serious consequences on pubs, bars and restaurants. And look, I know that some of you passionately disagree with me on this and you're scared. But my own family back home in County Durham, under the North East lockdown, don't know if they're coming or going. And that puts people in a really perilous position. As my family, I come from very limited financial means back home. At many points throughout my life, we didn't have a pot to pee in. And risking fines for people, but because you keep changing the lockdown policy every 2 minutes, working class people being imposed with 200 quid fines if they break the rules. I don't like any of this. And listen, as I say, I know a lot of you disagree with me, but anyway, I've said my piece. So let us know what you reckon. Right, next up, as I promised, I want to talk about Trump versus Biden. Now, how many of you has watched the debate? Let us know in the comment section. Comment along and let us know. Oh, actually, well, hang on. Gillian says, Middlesbrough have refused. Gillian on Facebook says that Middlesbrough have refused the restrictions, and that's the Middlesbrough mayor said he's just not gonna do it. And to be honest with you, I think if I was in his position, I'd probably be of a similar view. I'd probably say, listen, I'm not going to put in place more confusing restrictions that are going to lead to unemployment in one of the most deprived regions in our country, and risk my constituents, the people that have voted me into office, getting fines because they don't know if they're coming or going. I think that's a risk. So yes, good reminder, Gillian. Thanks for that. Right. So earlier this week, the United States of America, that's the country I was looking for, had its first presidential debate. And now, I don't know about you, if you watched it at all. I did. But to be honest with you, I thought the whole thing was a total mess and really undignified. And actually quite funny in parts, but I'm not sure it was supposed to be. And to be honest with you, I don't think I have much to add beyond that. I think you all know who I would vote for. I think we need a strong United States of America. I think the leader of the free world, and especially at this present time, I'm looking around at all of those Democrat-controlled cities that look like they're part of a war-torn country and not the United States of America. And I really fear that the United States could be on the cusp of a civil war. It's all pretty serious. Now, in less serious news, Labour MP Chris Bryant has nominated, and I'll just get that up on my screen. He's nominated Joe Biden for a Nobel Peace Prize. And he says he's done so because when American cities have been in flames and citizens have had, been pitched against citizen, Joe has been a common influence to bear, says Labour MP Chris Bryant. Well, I'm sorry, but it took him long enough to do anything about condemning the violence after the Black Lives Matter protests that have made America look like the third world. It took him long enough to do anything about that. I just think that this posturing from Labour politicians as far as the Nobel Peace Prize is concerned is a complete and utter farce. If we consider that President Obama was nominated for the prize before he'd ever actually achieved anything in office, his record was a total failure as far as foreign policy is concerned. The prize is now used as a political football for those politicians that our increasingly woke media and institutions approve of. And by all accounts, with Trump's success on Middle East peace deals, the diplomacy and channels opened with North Korea, changing the Iran deal without causing a war, as some pundits were predicting, he's generally been a president that's avoided conflict, more so than Obama, and yet he gets nothing for this because it's Trump. It's that bad orange man that all of those in positions of influence cannot stand. And it's really quite rotten, I reckon. And frankly, quite pathetic for Chris Bryant, the Labour MP, to even nominate Biden for the prize just to stick one up on Trump. What do you think? Do you think Chris Bryant was right to nominate Joe Biden for the prize? Do you think Trump should get the prize? What do you think about President Trump's record on foreign policy? To be honest with you, I think it's one to celebrate, and I think everything that's going on in Israel, especially where you're seeing Lebanon coming to the table to speak to Israel, that's phenomenal. And this is all happening under Trump's leadership of the free world. It's an extraordinary feat. Yeah, he'll get nothing for it because it's Trump. So, right. I'll go through some comments. So Simon says, Trump should get the Nobel Prize. And Kevin says, the prospect of having a senile old man that cannot even contemplate his sentences is an absolute frightening situation. Well, actually, this comment from Simon about the COVID thing, I thought Boris was meant to be levelling the country up. I completely agree with that. There's no way in hell that you can even contemplate. Earlier this week, we had an announcement on skills, and they were saying, You know, this is part of the levelling up agenda. We're going to retrain adults and they're going to be able to get back into work, etc. I'm sorry, there's going to be no employment, no economy to actually create the employment for people to go into jobs before long if we continue this. Right, now I want to talk about Laurence Fox. Foxy. Now, Foxy is a right hoot. And Toby Young has written this piece saying that Laurence Fox is a political force to be reckoned with. And I think I'm minded to agree. I spoke to Michael Crick for the Mail Online earlier this week about this, about Laurence's new political party. So I don't know if you all saw that news. Laurence is to launch a new political party, and I thought it was quite exciting news. And I think Laurence is someone who gets what's happening to our culture, who feels quite personally the attacks on our cultural heritage by those who wish to denigrate and destroy British history, who don't wish our nation well, who we should all, as Douglas Murray so eloquently puts it, just start saying no to. So it's going to be interesting to see what Laurence and his new party actually get up to. But interestingly, as far as the Conservative Party's response to the new party, they then seemed to brief the Telegraph on the day of Laurence's party being announced. The Tories spiked the announcement, it seemed to me anyway, I could be wrong on that, by briefing to the press that they were keen to put forward the anti-BBC columnist Charles Moore as BBC chairman, as well as Paul Dacre, the former head of the Daily Mail, as the regulator of Ofcom, which regulates all broadcast. And these were seen as justifiably welcome moves. It seemed to me for certain that after 10 years in power, the Conservatives haven't done anything or anywhere near enough to get Conservative voices in positions of power. And something that the likes of Tony Blair and Alistair Campbell were notoriously good at doing. You know, that cemented the ultra-liberal Remain-backing policies of the Blair government into public life for years to come. Many of them still in positions like that to this day. But why did the Conservatives brief their Moore and Dacre story on the same day as the Fox Party announcement? Well, I think it's because they know a high-profile party or movement like this could be a massive lightning rod for the Conservatives, offering genuinely conservative views and platforms. And I see all of this without seeing any policy prescriptions put forward by this new party that could render the Conservatives redundant, though, if it doesn't keep up its side of the bargain. And listen, I say this as a member of the Conservative Party. I'm a friend and supporter of the Conservative Party. But you know, voters in the North East and elsewhere that voted Tory for the first time won't be forgiven if they lent their vote only to see Boris pander to those who do not wish our nation well or have its best interests at heart. So let's see what's going to happen here. I'll go through some of your comments. Alex on Facebook says that UKIP moved Tories in the right direction. And I think I know what he means there. You know, they really held the Conservatives to account on giving us a referendum. And I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. And he says that Reclaim, which is the name of Laurence's, I should have said that. Reclaim is the name of Laurence Fox's party. He says that will do the same for free speech and debate. Let's see. Let's see what else you're saying. Alan, I think that's your name on YouTube, says Fox should join the Brexit party. Don't try to split the vote. Well, you know, a few people have said that about splitting the vote. But in 2019, you know, we were warned that the Tories were going to lose because the Brexit party would split the vote, and that didn't end up happening. I don't know what's happening with the Brexit party, to be honest with you. I doubt they'll get together with Laurence Fox's party because, you know, Nigel is very much a one-man band. Yes, I think you're all in agreement, really, on this new party. But anyway, right, I want to talk about Harry and Meghan now. I know you're all dead excited for this one. So they did an interview that was released earlier today with the Evening Standard, George Osborne's paper. And it says here, exclusive, Meghan and Harry's call for change. And the Duke and Duchess of Sussex today called for Britain to grasp an opportunity for change, as they warned that young people of colour will be held back as long as structural racism exists. In a candid, exclusive interview with the Evening Standard to mark the start of Black History Month, Prince Harry also spoke powerfully of how the UK can be made a better country by white people understanding more about life for those of a different coloured skin. Now, they spoke to the Evening Standard from Zoom, from their £11 million home, it's reported, in Santa Barbara, California. And I tweeted about this, and listen, I think it's well established. And the couple also spoke about Black Lives Matter, and it's well established that it's been a source of reverse ferreting of Premier League football commentators, politicians, and all of the rest of it, that Black Lives Matter, whilst a laudable slogan, I don't know who couldn't agree that Black Lives Matter, certainly not me, but we've seen that the actual movement behind the slogan is incredibly radical. You know, it's a policy platform that would make Jezza Corbyn blush. They want to dismantle capitalism. They've said climate change is racist. I'm not sure how that's the case. You know, if it's happening and sea levels rise, I'm pretty sure that drowning is non-discriminatory on grounds of skin colour or content of your character. They want to abolish prisons and the police. They want to get rid of our borders. They've said unemployment is violence. They're against stop and search that many black mothers, for example, support because they fear for their children's lives with knife crime spiking in London. They've described Churchill as racist, and so on and so forth. I could go on and on with what we've learned about the Black Lives Matter movement over recent months. So why are the Duke and Duchess of Woke, Harry and Meghan, giving an interview to the Evening Standard discussing Black Lives Matter and arguing that the UK is structurally racist? I just want to play a video that I put out earlier today.
There's anything controversial about it. You know, we had the fortune of talking to very early on this year when the Black Lives Matter, when the racial justice movement in the US was coming to a head after the murder of George Floyd. We spoke with Alicia Garza, who's one of the founders of Black Lives Matter.
So what's happened, we've been trying to walk away from the danger here, but it's been following us.
Goodness me, I mean, this just goes to show.
When there's just peaceful protest and when there's the intention of just wanting unity and wanting the recognition of equality. When there's just peaceful protest and when there's the intention of just wanting unity and wanting the recognition of equality, when there's just peaceful protest. protest and when there's the intention of just wanting unity and wanting the recognition of equality, I don't think there's anything controversial about it.
I mean, that for me was the most extraordinary part of their interview with the Evening Standard. You know, the idea that the protests over this year have been peaceful is just simply extraordinary to me. And I can see all of yous are commenting actually, and you're all in complete agreement with me. Alex, again, sorry, I keep picking you, Alex. I wish them no harm. No, I think go do whatever you want. You know, go leave the royal family if you want to. You've got free will, you've got agency. I'm not going to deny you that. This isn't a dictatorship. Go off and live your life. But you cannot. I'm sorry, you cannot. Get rid of decide that your duties in this country were too much, but keep your royal title to get your Netflix deals and lecture all of us about how much of a racist, intolerant country we are, and then say that the Black Lives Matter movement is peaceful, when it's quite clear to anyone that's been watching the videos that I've just showed that they're not. You can't, and of course the meddling in the election as well. They've without explicitly saying it, they've implicitly stated that they would support Joe Biden, and that sort of thing's really damaging to the monarchy. And Alex is right to mention that. Katie says the Duke and Duchess of woke. I love it. Absolutely, that's what they are. They're in it. They didn't like rainy old Blighty. They didn't like having to do charity events in this country. They didn't like their duties. They do like Netflix deals. They do like their Californian mansion. But they cannot have their royal cake and eat it. They can't think that they can still lecture us from the luxury of their £11 million Californian home. If you want to do that, renounce your titles before you do serious damage to the monarchy. And their poor grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, what they must be putting her through, it's extraordinary. Kim says, I am in utter disbelief that the Queen has taken no action to strip them of the titles. Well, I fear, Kim, that she's going to be left with no choice before long. I really do. Really, really do. And, you know, putting to one side my view that it's entirely unsustainable for members of the royal family who still have the royal titles to argue that there's nothing controversial about the Black Lives Matter movement, given everything we've seen this year, I do believe that there's still racism in this country. Sure. As my good friend Calvin Robinson said on this show earlier this month. But is it structural? No. Can black kids work hard and achieve brilliant things in the UK? Absolutely. This identity stuff is poison. And there are issues for working class kids here in this country, gay or straight, black or white. So address those issues. Talk about those issues. And also, let's not forget their reasoning for leaving the United Kingdom to lead. They said they wanted to lead a more private life. Well, I'm sorry, but their reluctance to turn down whatever media opportunity comes their way would suggest otherwise, wouldn't it? I really do think, as Kim said, that it's time for the royal family, before there's real issue here, to strip this meddling pair of their royal titles. You just cannot go on like this with these two. And, well, Judith has a good point. So Judith says, why give them more airtime, Darren? Things you ignore usually go away. I think you're right, Pet, but listen, I am someone that really believes in the institution of monarchy. I really do think that we have it much better than the United States of America with their presidency. Well, despite the fact, you know, and that's nothing against any particular president. I think that the continuity of Queen Elizabeth has been that one constant for all four constituent parts of this United Kingdom. I think the monarchy is a source of much light and magic in this country. And I really fear about the repercussions of losing that magic of monarchy, because once you peel back the plastic, once you can see that the monarchy are just like everybody else, once Harry and Meghan expose the fact that the monarchy have political opinions, God forbid, then you start to diminish that magic of monarchy. You start to peel away and reveal the veneer that says that they're just like you and I. And that's really damaging to the institution. And it'll be very short-lived if Harry and Meghan start a trend within the royal family where this sort of thing becomes totally okay, where royal protocol just goes out of the window. If you want to wax lyrical about politics, if you want to support Joe Biden, if you want to say that the UK is structurally racist, then renounce your titles, give them up. Enjoy your Netflix deals and your Californian mansion as ordinary citizens. But they won't do that because their royal titles are actually quite profitable for them. And that, to me, is a damn disgrace. So, I just think that's my view. Anyway, I've waxed lyrical about that. I really have. I think I'm going to call it a night now because I am going to the pub, which I'll have to leave by 10 o'clock. On the streets with everyone else. Isn't that mad? Totally mad. Anyway, what they should do is just put me in charge. I'll be the medical advisor. It's fine. We'll get it done. Yeah. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think you should, if you can, consider supporting our GoFundMe page. As I said earlier, we're over halfway to securing our fundraising target. And it really does help ensure that we can, do all of this and speak to you, get you involved, give you a platform. Everyone's saying enjoy your drink, Darren. I will. As you all know, I like a good drink. Now, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic night. Thank you so much for joining. If you leave in the comment section on YouTube what topics you'd like to see discussed next week, what guests you'd like to see next week, then I will look at the comments later. I'll scan through them. And I'll have a think. So cheers. As I said earlier as well, I want this channel to very much be formed with you guys at the heart of it. So do get involved, and cheers for doing so. And God bless.